You ever have one of those days where you just know someone's about to pick the wrong fight? I was polishing my 1969 Stingray Corvette Candy Apple Red. Curves like a dream, engine that hums like thunder, and I could already feel someone watching. Not admiring, no. Watching like a hawk that thought it saw prey. Little did I know, HOA Karen was already planning to claim my car as hers. And trust me, what happened next? You're not ready for it. It all started 3 weeks after I moved into Cypress Hills, a gated community with an HOA so strict. They send reminders if your garbage can is visible for more than 12 minutes after pickup. I had just moved in after selling my tech startup. Retired at 39, single, and finally able to enjoy life a little. And nothing said enjoyment more than that Corvette I restored with my own hands. The car was parked in my driveway, under a weatherproof cover. It hadn't even been 2 full days before I got my first note. Only vehicles in active use may be parked in driveways. OA code 14.6, typed, not signed. Passive-aggressive in the most Karen way possible. I laughed it off. After all, I'd been warned by my real estate agent that the HOA here had a particular character. I didn't know that character had a name. And a vendetta. 3 days later, I get a knock on the door. It's Karen, mid-50s, platinum blonde bun, Oakley sunglasses, clipboard like it's a weapon. She doesn't say hi or introduce herself. Just walks right up to the threshold and says, "That Corvette has been sitting too long. If it's abandoned, I'll need to arrange for it to be removed." I blinked. Removed? That's my car. She smirked, then pointed to the clipboard. Actually, according to HOA regs, unattended and inoperable vehicles are community property if not claimed within 14 days. It's been 12. I almost choked. Community property? Was she serious? I told her point blank, that car's worth more than your condo. She didn't flinch. She just nodded, gave me a fake smile and said, "Then I'd suggest you move it before I do." I could have laughed. But something about the way she said it didn't sit right. That night, I installed security cameras facing my driveway, front yard, and garage. Just in case. And wouldn't you know it, 2 nights later, around 3:15 a.m., the camera caught her. Dressed in black yoga pants, hoodie, gloves. She tried to pull the cover off the Corvette, tripped the motion sensor, and looked dead into the lens like she was in a horror movie. Then ran. Next morning, I printed the footage and left it taped to her door with a note. "Community property doesn't wear gloves at 3 a.m., Karen." That should have ended it. But with Karens, it never ends. A few days go by. Quiet, almost 2. Quiet. I kept the Corvette parked, but this time moved it slightly each day, just enough to show it was in use. I figured if she came back, I'd catch her again. Instead, she escalated. Sunday morning. I'm out back grilling when I hear a beep beep. I walk around the front, and there's a tow truck, hooked up to my Corvette. Corinne's standing there with her arms crossed, acting like she's the sheriff in an old western. I bolt toward the driver. "Hey, that's my car." He looked confused. "She said it was hers," he muttered, gesturing at Karen. "Said she was the HOA president and had the paperwork." I looked at her, trying not to explode. "Karen, I swear." But she cut me off loudly in front of my neighbors. "He's squatting in that house. This car's been left here for weeks. I'm acting in accordance with the HOA emergency enforcement clause." That was it. Gloves off. I walked right past her, into my garage, came back with the title, bill of sale, registration, insurance, and a photo of me rebuilding the engine, shirtless, grease all over my hands. I slapped the documents onto the hood of the truck. "Tell me when you've had enough." The tow driver backed off immediately. Karen turned bright red. The crowd of neighbors gathering was now recording on their phones. She tried to save face. I'll be reporting you to the board." "You're clearly in violation," I cut. Her off. You are the board, remember? That's why you thought you could steal my car. She stormed off, muttering about lawyers and citations. I thought that would be the end. But oh no, Karen was just warming up. 2 days later, a certified letter shows up. Official HOA letterhead. Says I've been fined $1,000 for verbal assault, failure to comply with community property codes, and obstruction of HOA operations. I knew this wasn't just some fine. This was war. So I did what any sane man with money, free time, and a petty streak would do. I lawyered up. But not just any lawyer. I hired Nancy Shelton, ex-HOA attorney turned HOA whistleblower. She hates people like Karen. We filed a cease and desist against Karen for harassment, unlawful property seizure attempt, and defamation. And while we were at it, Nancy pulled the community charter and found something interesting. Karen wasn't even officially the HOA president. Her term had expired 6 months ago. She'd been acting president because no one else wanted the role. No vote, no documentation, no authority. We drafted a letter to the HOA management company and the city council, and that's when Karen's world started crumbling. You know that moment right before the storm breaks when everything's just too quiet? That's exactly what it felt like after my lawyer sent that cease and desist to Karen. I hadn't seen her walking her yappy little dog past my house. No unsolicited notes, no late-night prowling near my Corvette. Just silence. But if there's one thing I learned about Karen types, they never go down easy. 2 weeks passed. I was starting to think maybe, just maybe, we'd broken her. But I was wrong, because Karen's next move? She didn't just double down, she tried to erase me from the neighborhood entirely. One Wednesday afternoon, while I was out running errands, my neighbor Alex texted me, "Bro, why's there a for sale sign on your lawn?" What? I floored it home. And sure enough, right in the middle of my front yard, planted deep in the turf, was a big, shiny, red and white sign, "Property foreclosed under HOA management, do not remove." I was furious. I ripped that thing out of the ground like it was a flag in battle. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. Foreclosed? I paid cash for that house. I didn't even have a mortgage. Turns out, Karen had filed a fake lien against my property, claiming unpaid HOA dues and abandonment of premises. She fabricated HOA meeting minutes, forged signatures, and even created a fake invoice history that supposedly added up to over $8,300 in unpaid fines. You might be wondering, how could someone even do that? Well, Karen had access to HOA records. She'd been acting as president for so long, nobody questioned her. She sent those fake documents to a third-party foreclosure processing agency, probably thinking I'd either panic and pay or leave, but I wasn't going anywhere. My lawyer, Nancy, went nuclear. Within 48 hours, she filed complaints with the city attorney, state real estate board, the HOA oversight committee, and law enforcement. This was no longer a civil matter, it was criminal fraud. And finally, someone took notice. The following Monday, we got a knock on Karen's door. But this time it wasn't me. It was 2 detectives from the White Collar Crimes Division, armed with a warrant. Cameras caught her being escorted to the squad car in a pink bathrobe and slippers, screaming, "This is a mistake. I'm the president." The neighborhood was outside watching, silent, stunned. Some clapped. Others just shook their heads. Me? I stood in my driveway, arms crossed, leaning against my Corvette, smiling like a man who just watched karma deliver a package overnight. Karen was booked on charges of fraud, falsifying legal documents, and impersonating a public official. Turns out, she'd pulled this foreclosure stunt before twice in the past decade. But those homeowners didn't fight back. They moved out, took the loss. I was the first to dig in, and the moment the handcuffs clicked, things unraveled fast. The HOA was left of it resigned. The property management company dropped the entire Cypress Hills account. The city council initiated a full audit of the HOA's practices going back 5 years. And the best part? I was offered a position as the interim HOA president. I declined. Of course, I'm not about to waste my weekends arguing about grass height and mailbox paint. But I did make one suggestion. Let's amend the charter to allow classic cars in driveways. Permanently. It passed unanimously. Karen's trial. Hit in late spring. It was swift. Her own fake documents were her undoing. Even her former allies testified against her, saying she'd strong-armed the board, bullied homeowners, and used HOA power as her personal throne. She was sentenced to 18 months of community service, banned from serving on any HOA board for life, and fined over $40,000 in damages and legal fees. She moved out shortly after sentencing. No one said goodbye. In her place, a young couple bought the house. Cool people, actually. Teachers, down to earth, even asked if they could come check out the Corvette. I gave them the full tour. They loved it. And now, every Sunday, we host mini-car meets in my driveway. 5 or 6 guys from the neighborhood roll out their old-school rides, Mustangs, Camaros. A couple imports. The sound of engines replaced the sound of HOA warnings. Funny how peace returned once tyranny was removed. The cherry on top? One day, a few months later, I got a letter in the mail. Certified, no return address. Inside was a typed note that read, "You may have won the battle, but you'll never understand the responsibility of leadership." The HOA was better before. Also inside was a tiny pink plastic keychain in the shape of a Corvette. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my coffee. Karen was gone, but she clearly hadn't moved on. But me? I kept living. I cruised through the neighborhood with the top down, the V8 rumbling like thunder, and no one dared say a thing. Because this time, the community had seen the truth. Some people collect fines, and some people collect horsepower. And me? I just collect wins.